All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Before we go into this, we're going to start in a different perspective from where we left off. And where we start is this cloud giant that the group recently met in the last session at the end. He is sitting in his tower at the second tallest peak, sitting in this giant chair, this 18-foot tall figure. He has this dark kind of gray skin that resembles almost like a Duragar or something, but the humanoid itself, he's 18 feet tall, just massive. And on the top of his head, he is balding, and his hair itself, he has this little goatee and kind of long hair on the sides that very closely resemble a cloud more than a hair. And he's sitting in these ornately this ornately dressed giant in these purple and gold trimmed robes. He's very well put together. You can tell that the robes themselves are made of high quality clothing and whatnot. And he's sitting in this chair just looking out into the day. And as we kind of assume the camera angle behind him and look out, we see this beautiful mid or late summer day. But to him, he sees beyond that. He sees past the mountains, past the trees, and his vision is just whipping by as it goes through the clouds and trees and up into the sky, and he's soaring through the stars, and just stars and planets are passing him by light years at a second, and he's just kind of sitting there almost comatose. And this voice calls out to him and tells him that he must find them. He must search them out, or the impending war will break out. And an information overload starts taking over his mind as he gets these images of these heroic figures that are fighting off beasts and saving the day. He sees the war that is coming. He sees the war that might not come. He sees the end of it. He sees the beginning of it. He sees everything all at once, past, future, and present. And then drool starts to come out of his mouth as the vision comes to a sharp end, and he sits in his chair like in a coma, and days kind of pass by. He sits there and just looks out into the day as his castle floats through the sky, thousands of feet in the air. But that was long ago, or at least a couple days. He can't remember. He now soars down from this tower that he's in. And as you four stand at the base of his building, you look around and you see that this 100-foot square octagonal chamber, just decorated with what you would expect a normal person to live in: tables, chairs, furniture, whatnot, lights and chandeliers, but they are quadruple your size. The table itself is like a mountain almost. The chair, it would take you like an hour to climb. Maybe not an hour, but you get the point. Everything is huge. And he stops, so flooring down, and kind of feet touch to the ground, and he looks up as you guys are all standing there looking at him. And he gives you a smile and says, "Oh, it's you guys. Well, I'll be a flat-footed copper roop. I finally found you. Welcome."
Well, you're a big one.
Yes, I guess compared to you, I'm quite a bit taller. The name is Zephyros. And I've been expecting you for quite a while.
Greetings, Zephyros. These are my friends, Livy, Summit in the Darkness, and Warrendale, and I am Octavius.
Oh, yes, I've been waiting for you quite a long time, all of you. It's been foretold that you'll come. Your name's maybe not that familiar on. They kind of speak in tongues, but clearly you, and he points at you, Octavius, and he's like, you're that strong tattooed dwarf. You wield a great hammer, and you're a master of rage, and your ability to distract foes with this ancient technique only using your hands. I can tell you're a little bit taller than I thought, but I've definitely heard of you. And he points at Warren. And he says, and Warren, you must be the half-elf, whose complexion is a little darker, but You're quite a bit less lady looking than I expected. I'm not gonna lie, but your outlook on life is incomprehensible, and I can tell that you're absolutely a mighty paladin who brings joy to even the most dour of folk. He kind of stares you up and down, Warren, and he goes over to Sunny and says, the champion of Paylor. I admit you're a little bit hairier than I was expecting, but I've heard tale of your mastery of lightning and your servitude to the gods. I'm excited to finally meet your presence. And he holds out his hand, and as you he goes to shake it, but your hand is literally the size of one of his fingers. And then lastly, he looks at Livy and says, and you must be the bard that's traveled from faraway lands. Your exotic lullabies are said to sway the tide of even the most devastating of battles. Greetings, all of you. It's about time you showed up. I've been looking everywhere for yous.
I was kind of looking around. He's like, Tavios, you're a dwarf. It's like, what?
If a guy that big calls you a dwarf, you're a dwarf.
Yes, you see.
I'm a magic user. No.
Huh. I guess I could be a bard, but I never really.
The great ones, they told me. They spoke to me, and they told me that I must seek you four out. And that it is you, only you four. They were very specific. It had to be you four that could stop the impending war that is upon us. I'm so glad that I finally found you all.
I think you're a bit mistaken.
Warren will kind of shove up next to Sunny like, shh. Well, you must be Fruitcake, the man of the stars and the druid of the grove.
Who, me? He points at himself.
Oh, yes, I've heard of you.
Oh,
Floating around in your boat along the sea. Fruitcake, right? Fruitcake.
No. My name is Zephyros. I've already said. Don't worry. I have a bad memory too sometimes. But yes, I'm a cloud giant, and a lot of stuff has been happening over the past little while. And I've been talking to others about advice. I've been using my magic, and well, these entities, these great ones, they've told me that I must seek the four out, you four, that I just explained, and that only you can reassemble or stop the ordning from being shattered, and stop giant and small folk from waging war.
Well, we just did that in one town. I'm sure we can do it on a bigger scale. We're actually trying to find a giant. I believe he's a storm giant. Harshnag.
Never heard of him. But where are you guys going? I would love to hear a song. Where's your instrument, Bard?
My instrument is my voice.
That's not what the ones told me. They said that you played an exotic one. Are you sure you're not forgetting? What about you? He looks at Sunny. Champion of Paylor. You must show me some of your lightning tricks. I've heard that you're able to call the storms down upon you and use it against the enemies of darkness. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Yes, Sunny.
She absolutely turns her back to the giant and leans down a little bit because she's taller than everybody else and goes, I don't know what to do here.
Cut down the lightning. I want to see this too.
And what about you?
About Warrendale? You can't do goddamn lightning.
Just hold your hands up. I'll do it for you.
What about you, mighty paladin of Lyra? I've heard that your performance in tales of purple worms and the ability to cheer anybody up is uncomparable to anybody. I admit that I've had a couple of bad days. I wouldn't mind if you were to tell me a story and cheer me up.
Oh, yes, there, cheery one. You should tell him how cheery you are.
Livy's like waving around like, I know that story. That story.
No, it's not your turn there, Bard girl. No, I want the cheery one to tell him a happy story. And she just smiles at him, really toothy, and all the cat teeth is blazing.
Zephyros takes a seat like a child. He crosses his legs, and he's still like 4 times the size of you guys, even sitting down. But he like a child, anxiously waits for Warren to tell him a great story.
Go ahead, there, cheery one.
Very well. Warren will take a seat on a barrel or whatever might be around that he can actually prop himself onto. Let me tell you about this. One day, we were scouring the town trying to save the lady people. I like the lady people. But my friend here, my beautiful lightning mage, and my other friends, scouting through town, and can you believe it? They couldn't even open the door. I had to go up there and kick in the door. I saved the beautiful lady. She looked a bit like a strange goblin, and, well, didn't turn out the way I wanted. But I think the more important thing is our lightning mage here. Suni, please, show the fine fruitcake your lightning skills. You can't wait to see this, Zephyros. It's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be shocking.
Just hold your hands up high.
And she just she hasn't turned her back towards Zephyros yet. She's still just facing the group. And she turns up her hands and puts up both of her middle fingers. And
Your middle fingers, nice.
and goes, "Oh, lightning, please strike now, fucking Warrendale, do it."
What are you looking at me for? You're the mage.
Yeah.
Do something.
Okay, so she turns around and she pulls off her cloak and unlatches her cloak completely. It goes, Zephyros, I don't know who you're expecting, but I'm sure it wasn't me. As you can see, I'm not even from this continent, from across the sea.
Yes, I admit you're the weirdest satyr I've ever seen.
Yeah, my name is Sunlit in the Darkness, and I am I'm a tabaxi. I'm a monk. So whatever you were trying to...
Wait, so you're not a champion of Palor?
None of us are.
And you're not a bard, she points at Livy.
Not specifically trained. I can entertain still.
And
She does know fantastic stories.
you're not a dwarf that can rage and distract people with their hands?
I could have been in my last life.
And your story wasn't very cheerful. You aren't a paladin of Lyra, are you?
I've been called worse.
He stands up and has this ominous presence about him as he looks utterly disappointed, and he stares at you all. Moments kind of pass in silence. He grips this giant staff. It's more like a tower to you, and kind of slams it to the ground momentarily, and then shrugs his shoulders. Oh, well, I'm sure the finer details and prophecies aren't important. The important thing is that you four are here, and yeah, you're going to save the day. That's for sure what's going to happen. So, where are we going?
Bryn!
Waterdeep.
That too.
Bryn, I know of the place. That's not too far, only like a month.
Well, people with big strides like yours, I'm sure a month is nice and quick, but I think we have a little longer.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'll take you. Come in my castle. The entities told me I must help you. You see, the ordning has been destroyed. And unless that is fixed, chaos is going to take over Faerun. War and destruction. I must help you.
What is the ordning?
Oh, you don't know what the ordning is.
Again, I'm sorry. I'm not from Faerun.
Well,
From Azteca.
come in. Let my man has escaped me. I apologize. You guys are just kind of standing here. Take off your coats and come in, and let's become acquainted. And I'll tell you the story.
Oh man, Lee is totally like just taking this full in. She'd be taking off her cape and whatnot, setting down, like, oh, over here, okay, cool. And then she'd like totally try and clamber up onto one of those chairs, wherever they end up like going to a sitting room or something. She will efforts to get up on one of those seats.
Yeah, so let me show you the map of the area that you're in. Let me see here, players. So, actually, can I find it? Here it is. And I'll bring you down to the first level. Lock your view and share. Now you make sure it's sharing the right thing. It's a pretty big map, so you might have to scroll down. I'm not sure if I think I got you looking where I want. So you're at the base, and basically that dotted circle is what kind of carries up. And if you look above, there's a circle or a hole where he kind of levitated down from. But he has this massive table and a chair. It's a little more decorated than it shows. There's these two massive statues of what looks like giants, kind of like him, holding these giant stone books, and a bunch of lights that dangle from chains, and that's in each of these corners. These chains dangle from the walls and have these lit spears on them. He has a checker table on the actual main table himself, and as he looks at you guys trying to like sit on the chairs, you basically like can't even see above the table in any way, shape, or form. So what he does is he holds out his hand and kind of picks you up and puts you on the table and gives you each a checker piece to like sit on as a chair, and he comes and sits down on his own chair. And then he says, so what is your names if you're not the ones that I thought you were?
Well, as Tavio said, I'm Livy, that's Sunlit, and that's Warrendell, and Tavius.
Octavius.
Those are vowels likely to die on a Saturday. Livy will just kind of give it up.
And you're going to Bryn Shanders to meet a giant, you say?
Yes, I'm looking for my grandpa's old adventuring friend, Harshnag. And he believes that he will know more info on like what's going on with the giants and whatnot, and probably even how to stop it. And so we're hoping that we can locate him so we can, get the giants to stop being so mean.
Mean, you say? Why? Have you experienced giants being mean? That's disappointing.
Well, Nightstone?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Nightstone, as she's trying to tell you.
Nightstone was rocks rained down upon them from the giants that threw them, but there's also goblins involved with this, so maybe it's like a partnership. But there were some giants that attacked the town I was in, and my aunt kind of died in the process.
Oh, Tiri, I'm so sorry to hear that. You say rocks from the sky. You mean to say that cloud giants attacked poor little Nightstone?
It appears so.
That is so very disappointing. I'm so truly sorry. And he actually looks pretty sad as he says that. My people...
Octavius would pipe up and say, it was alleged that storm giants, where cloud giants dropped rocks. It could have been a hailstorm like the one they had back in, 400 years ago over in somewhere where rocks just fell from the sky. It was such a snowy night. It was crazy. And then Octavius would go off on this tangent on how every 400 years there's usually a hailstorm big enough to have rocks that fall from the sky.
He would look at you quizzically, and I've not heard of that's strange. I have such a big library upstairs, and you must tell me more someday.
Much to tell.
But anyways, yes, the giants, cloud giants or not, it sounds like if there was a rocks being thrown from the sky. And did you say something about a fortress? Or normally cloud giants kind of hang out in things like these? And he points and looks at his tower.
Did Livy notice anything of the sorts?
Yeah, you guys absolutely. Livy, you would have remembered that on a sunny day where there was no clouds in the sky, a fortress sitting on a cloud kind of hovered over Nightstone and then started dropping rocks like it was going out of style.
Nodding her head, just like, yep. At least one.
I've heard that Sensuri has been a bit off lately, but it's strange to think that maybe, well, Sensuri, Countess Sensuri, she is the basically the leader of our hierarchy, the Cloud Giants. She's always been a bit of a stuck-up kind of one to think she's put her nose high in the air, and she always thinks that she's been better than you small folk, but I'd never thought that she would order something like this to actually attack. And to work with goblins, how gross. Those are such little, like,
How do you spell that?
rodents.
Vile.
Yeah, they do. I'd hang out with them for 2 days.
Ugh, you poor thing. Well, luckily you're here now. But anyways, the ordering. I must explain this to you because there's so much to learn, and well, I guess we have a lot of time if we're going to be traveling together, but might as well start it off with a story, right?
Well, before we start traveling, I do need to go to Waterdeep.
Waterdeep, you say?
I did say.
Oh, I'm sure we can make the stop. We'll see what we can do. We're on a bit of looks like basically goes to like look at a watch for some reason, which doesn't even really make sense because that probably doesn't exist here. But nonetheless, he looks at his wrist, which has nothing on it, and yeah, we're on a bit of a schedule, but I'm sure we could figure that out. No worries. But anyways, the ordering. You see, giant society, such as it is defined in a large part of an ordering, or a caste system, I guess, that has been imposed on the giants by their god. The god is Anam, the All-Father. And the ordering determines where a giant stands among his kin or other giants. You see, typically, the storm giants have stood atop the ordering, and they have kept things in check. They're tall and powerful. And they're definitely have their hands full keeping us underclass giants in check. Us cloud giants are second in the highest kind of ranking, and we're pretty sophisticated bunch, but the other giants, they're a little bit more brash, you see, because after the cloud giants is the fire giants, and they are a warful bunch. They love to make weapons and cause destruction. And then we have the frost giants, whose actual skills in combat are unlike any others. The fire giants build, the frost giants fight. And then we have the stone giants, who kind of, and he kind of like leans in and puts his hand to whisper, they're a bit weird and like to keep to themselves underneath the ground, but we won't judge. And then lastly, the hill giants, and they're kind of like that uncle or cousin that you don't really like to admit that you're like related to, you know. They're kind of very immature, we'll say. They go around and they eat and fight, and they're very, we'll say, to keep it polite, not very intelligent. But anyways, storm giants kept everything in check, you see. They ruled over Hecaton, the king of giants, and his wife, Queen Neri. They ruled over giant kind for many years. But apparently they're missing now. No one has heard from them.
Who?
King Hecaton. He's the leader of the storm giants. And, well, rumor has it that Anam, the All-Father, has shattered the ordering. And now all of giant kind is in disorder. Hill giants want to overcome stone giants. Stone giants want to overcome frost giants. Everybody wants to be at the top now. And they're all battling or doing their own things, performing deeds to what they think is going to please the All-Father. And if this isn't figured out and this is allowed to happen, then the giants will just run amok of Faerun. They're, as is, not getting along very well. And I think that's why Sensuri is doing what she's doing. I think in some way, I don't know what she's trying to accomplish, but she must be trying to please Anam, the great god of giants. And that is what all the other races are doing right now. You can see how that's troubling. Right?
Yeah.
How does that have to do with whatever's broken?
What do you mean, good sir?
Well, you said that the reasoning was broken or something.
The ordning, it's called.
The ordning. How does people trying to please the Allfather Anon have anything to do with the ordning that's broken?
Well, you see, the ordning is what kept everyone in check. When it was in place, everyone knew that storm giants ruled, and they held councils and made sure that we were kept in check. The hill giants were told not to raid too much, and although they did sometimes, the storm giants would come and, if they got out of control, take care of it. And everyone...
This is all because of the king and the queen are missing, and that is why the ordning is broken?
No, the ordning... I don't really know, to be honest. I'm just what the great old ones have told me, that the king is missing and that the ordning has been broken. And it's kind of hard to explain to somebody who's not part of it. It's like, and he's trying to explain, like, it's this mental thing, almost like an instinct. But once it was shattered, everyone felt it. All the giants felt it. The lowest of low hill giants and the highest of high storm giants. We all felt an instinct that change was upon us. The Allfather is displeased with us for some reason. And every giant now is looking to please him and take a position higher than they were currently standing. Now, I haven't been in contact with any other giants for a while because I've been on these, well, spiritual trips, we'll call them. And I'll admit that I have failed the casting a couple times, and it's left me a little bit loopy. But I always come back, and they told me that I must seek out these 4 small folk, and that the power of small folk are greatly underestimated by giant kind, and that 4 people have the ability to put an end to this. I don't know how, and they told me that it's not my place to know how. That's for you guys to do. So, and then he looks at you. So how are you going to fix this?
Well,
I think I'll just go around and tell everybody that they need to smarten up.
Interesting strategy.
I have a question, sir.
Yes. Warren, go ahead.
What are you doing to rise in the ranks? Or why aren't you a part of this? Did it not affect you?
It affected me, and I think I'm doing my own part as is, you know. A lot of giants think that small folk are just these tiny little creatures, rodents, that aren't very intelligent, but I've met small folk, and I know that you guys have the ability to do great deeds, even though you're in such a small, little tiny form.
no job is too big, no folk is too small, indeed. So suppose we found the king.
Well, King Akaton has always ruled very swiftly over his people. Never has a king before been able to keep the giants so in check. So I imagine if we did find him, that it would at least help. I don't think we'll ever know why Anam smashed the ordning or destroyed it. Some believe that and I don't know if you've heard of this, but a while ago, a couple years even, maybe a decade, there was a cult that was trying to bring a dragon god, Tiamat, back to this realm. And well, to be honest, the giants didn't have a whole lot to do with stopping it. So the fire giants believe that that's why Anam smashed the ordning, is because we become complacent and lazy. I don't know if that's true. I know that you small folk had a big part in not letting Tiamat rise back to this realm, so good job on that. But anyways, it's like everything. Everyone has their own opinions. No one really knows what's going on. Absolute chaos. Hill giants are running around, raiding people. Cloud giants are apparently dropping rocks on small cities for who knows what reason. And to think what the other giants might be doing, this is all very troubling.
Mr. Zephyros, sir?
Yes.
What do you know about the Worm Skull Throne?
Worm Skull Throne. I swear I've heard of that. And he thinks. I think it's in one of my books. I honestly can't remember. The last time I did contact another plane, I admit that it scrambled my brain pretty good. So give me some time to think on it, and I will get back to you. I'll have to go through my library.
I'll help you. I would love to see your library.
Well, absolutely. We can show you sometime. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I know it's a lot to take in, and I guess since you're not the four that were per se the ones that I was supposed to find, it's probably a lot for you guys to like deal with right now. But I can tell just by looking at you that you four will definitely do.
No, not a lot. I was actually kind of expecting something like this would happen, you know, because we're out to save the world. Big things, great things should be happening.
Yes, why not save the world? Indeed. I like your thinking.
But you were expecting this, Libby.
Oh, not exactly. Just like how we're exactly what he was expecting. It's just, I'm not surprised that this has happened to us.
I really kind of wanted to meet that dwarf.
Can you imagine a creature that can distract anyone with just his hands? What technique must that be? What kind of sorcery?
Glitter.
I must find me some of this glitter one day.
What the hell is glitter? Anyways, I know people that can do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they dwarfs? Do they have tattoos?
No, they're tabaxi, like myself.
So interesting. You remind me of something, actually. Here, I must show you, actually. Hopefully it's not offensive. I don't really understand your culture, but please come. And he'll kind of stand up and hold out his hands for you guys to climb on if you wish to do so.
Scrambles up first.
Does everybody else jump into his hands?
I'd definitely look questioning at the hand and look to Warren and to Sunlit and be like,
Come on, guys.
is that what we're doing now?
Hey, Grumpy. You gonna go on his hand?
Warren will just kind of stare back at Octavius. Pick a hand. I'll ride with you.
All right, let's do this then. We would slowly crawl up on the hand. Try to be as dignified as possible while crawling up into this giant's hand, but still crawl up into the hand.
And he's not quite big enough to like scoop you guys up in his hand and carry all four of you. So he'll put one of you on one shoulder and one of you on the other. And basically kind of put the other two in his hands. And he starts to do a chant, at which point he starts to levitate. And he starts to soar up 80 feet up into this little hole in the ceiling. And what you see now is a bunch of windows with panes of stained glass. You see furnishing, again, of giant size, this bed, an enormous wood chest. The chest itself is absolutely enormous. Let's see if it actually says. It's 20 feet by 60 feet.
Okay.
So, and then a shelf upon shelves of books. And these books are absolutely enormous. They look to be about, let me see here. It actually tells me. The books look like they would at least weigh 200 pounds each.
Oh, no.
They are made for giant hands, absolutely. And he brings you up into this room. And on two sides of this tower, basically looking north and south, is this little kind of balcony, which almost carries out like a kind of plank or whatnot that carries out into the sky. And from there, as you look up, you would see another kind of hole in the ceiling, which would lead to another room. But he sits down on his bed, puts you guys down kind of beside him, and then makes like a little kind of clicking noise. From which point you hear bestial sounds from above and movement, and this hay starts to fall down from the ceiling. And then you hear these creatures jump out of a tower and the sounds of massive flapping wings. And then one by one, these four griffins come from the platforms, landing and kind of climbing in. And they start to make these loud squawking noises, to which he says, "Oh, my little bird kitties, come here, please. I love you so much." and these griffins like come pouncing right up to him, and basically just like sit on his lap like little house cats. Rilix doesn't look too impressed by this.
Yeah, I was about to say. Neither of the cats look very impressed by this.
Yeah.
I feel as if I was one of the ones on his shoulder.
Yes.
So I kind of curl up into like his cloth, and his clothing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Relix like goes right up into my chest and burying himself.
One of them kind of comes up to you, and it's this beautiful looking griffin with these dark kind of black feathers and little red trimmings kind of around its neck, and it looks at you, Sonny, and kind of gives a sniff and a little kind of like snap of its beak at you.
Well,
almost kind of like it's trying to maybe eat you.
Yeah, and I kind of swat away at it.
And Zephyros is like, Veltrax, don't you stop that right now. Sonny is a friend. Sonny is not food.
And neither is that.
And then they kind of back away, and he calls them all. And after a while, he gets control of them, and they're quite rowdy. But he has a name for each one. He calls one Smoochy, one Griffers, one Stewart, and the other, the grumpy-looking one with black feathers, Veltrax. He calls them his little bird kitties, and you can just tell that as they all kind of like come around his lap and climb on him, that he just absolutely loves these creatures and is treating them basically like house cats, although they are griffins, so pretty large creatures in comparison to you. You could probably at least ride two of you on a griffin. And then he says, yes, these, your pet, you called it Rilix. It reminds me of these guys, my little kitties.
Yeah, except for if he's my little kitty.
Yes, absolutely. And these are mine, and I love them. But anyways, yes, and then he's kind of like stumbling around for words. Where do we go from now? Waterdeep, Bryn Shanders, and then I guess that's my part. Is I'll help you get from here to there, and then I'm sure you guys will figure it out. Do you have any other questions for me?
Can I ride one of these?
I don't think they would like that, to be honest.
Okay.
Where do you think we should start? Where do you think is a good place to start investigating this shatter?
Well, if you say that you have a giant who is in Bryn, then I guess that's as good a start as any.
So really, no other information?
Oh. He kind of looks like, what else am I supposed to tell you? You guys are the saviors here.
Well, I like to think that all of us are amazing and the four of us could tackle the world. But the fact is, we're just three folk and a cat. But, I think you could probably kill us faster than, we could do anything about this. Why don't you just take it on? You'd have giant friends, don't you? You guys could join a little conclave, have a party, and save the world.
I don't really get along too well with the other cloud giants. They kind of look down on me, I guess you could say. They think I'm a little out there for some reason. I don't really know why.
Me either.
But yes, for as to why I don't know more, they warned me, the entities, the great ones. They told me that I must not do too much. For if I put too much sway into your decisions, I might steer you on the wrong course. They say I am only here to guide you, to deliver you to where you need to go. So they're very vague, And to be honest, a lot of the times when I come back from my spell, my brain gets right loopy and I pass out for months to, I think one time, a couple years.
What do you mean by these spells?
Well, I know the spell called contact other planes. And basically, I reach out to different planes, and I hear these voices, and they speak to me, and they tell me of events, past, present, future. They told me the ordning would be shattered. They told me Hecaton would go missing. They told me that a war is coming, and that if it isn't stopped, that Faerun will never be the same. They told me that I have a really nice hairdo one time too, and I really appreciate that because as a child I got teased about it a lot, and you know, a giant can't really control how his hair looks, so I really appreciated that one time. You know,
I like your hair too.
You're a giant.
Say again, little friend?
Why do you care so much about the Faerun? You're a giant. You could destroy all of it in a matter of moments.
Why would I want to destroy such a beautiful place?
I didn't say you wanted to. I said, why do you care?
Because it's my home too.
Okay. It's a very good answer.
I'm not a destruction kind of type. You don't mistake me for a fire giant, do you? That's something a fire giant would do.
No, I mistake you for a giant.
That's me. I'm a giant, a cloud giant.
It's fine to meet you.
Yes.
Morn will kind of look over Octavius. I think he's a chauffeur giant, personally.
Did you know that back in the day, Warrendale, the giants and man used to work together, and man would build roads from following giant footprints?
No, Octavius, I did not know that.
We can
Yeah.
do that right now with what we found in the, Yeah. It looks like maybe there's some people that took down a couple of giants.
What do you
she
mean?
She would show the tapestry that we found and the note and so on and so forth at the end of the last session.
He could probably look out the tower and see the body down below, couldn't he? Wasn't
Yeah.
there a body? Yeah.
Yeah, you're like thousands of feet in the air.
Oh, okay.
I guess that we're probably like, I think you're 1,000 feet in the air, so you'd probably see the outline of it. He would definitely take your word for it, though. He'd tell you that he's not too surprised because he's heard that the Giants have been being pretty aggressive. So he thinks that this is just the start of it.
Were those hill giants?
Yeah, I would have to see to be sure, but I'm sure it's not too important. Do you want me to go check?
Oh, I think we should know. It seemed as if.
Oh, I got an idea. I'll send Veltrax. He'll go and chomp off its finger or something and bring it back. And he kind of snaps his finger, and Veltrax soars out down to the ground. A couple minutes pass, and then before long, he comes up kind of carrying this giant hand. And around its wrist is this necklace that is of bones of humans and different kind of animal skulls and weapons and whatnot. And as he looks at it and studies it, he says, "Oh yes, this is clearly a hill giant's hand."
Wonderful.
How could you tell?
Well, first the skin is rather green, and that's pretty common for hill giants. And then this paraphernalia here. Hill giants are infamous for taking trinkets off of things that they kill and turning it into jewelry. A lot of times they wear even the things that they killed's bones and stuff, kind of as trophy.
Yeah, that's what their armor looked like.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they're probably the most feral of all the giants.
But they look killable.
No, apparently so. If they do not have their heads, because one thing a giant can't do is live without its head.
I don't think anything can do that.
Oh, well, you obviously haven't met a Nargle.
No. Okay, well, yeah, I very much would like to go to Waterdeep and have to see a person and collect some supplies.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a journey if we're heading to Bryn anyways, and Waterdeep is still about a day away. So why don't you all take a rest?
How long will it take to get from Waterdeep to what's the name of that town again?
Bryn
Bryn.
Sanders.
He looks, and what he does is now you see kind of sitting in the center of the room is this almost kind of altar, and in the center of the altar is this giant glowing blue sphere or an orb, and in the orb it kind of looks like clouds and whatnot are floating through it. And he goes over to that and starts putting his hands around it and kind of rubbing it. And as he does so, you can feel the castle start to change directions. You look out the window and it would see that the stairs are starting to disappear back into cloud form and whisk away in the sky. And the tower starts to turn and start to steer in the direction. And as he looks into the orb and says, Bryn, well, that's roughly 624 hours and 24, and he starts doing the math in his head. Roughly 26 days.
Even in this castle.
Yes.
Not too much shorter than it would have taken us to walk there.
Well, you're
Right?
fine to do so if you want, but
Oh no. It's not the point. If it's gonna take so long, do you have things for us to eat?
oh, absolutely. I imagine that such small creatures like yourself can't really eat that much. What I do a lot of times is get my bird kitties to go catch me food, and I'll cook that up. I'm sure that I can accommodate you guys.
Do you have wine?
Wine. What is this you speak of? Wine. That's what small folk drink, right?
Yeah,
We'll be
then,
stopping in Riverdale anyways, Sunlit, so we can stock up on anything we might need.
Yes. It's,
We have Giant's Ale, but it's said that if a small folk were to drink that, its content is so high that you'll probably at the very least go blind or die.
you can see the wheels spinning in her head just for a second.
Slowly, you can't handle your own drink, let alone a giant's.
Blatantly a lie, they warned Elizabeth. It's fine. And she kind of gets up and just starts wandering a bit away. How far down is it from the room that we're in back to that main room?
Actually, the main room is 80 feet down, so a pretty long fall. And there's no like stairs or elevator or anything. He just literally floats from room to room. He tells you that he'll probably get you guys to stay down there. That's his guest quarters. He'll pull out a spare bed, which he thinks will fit all of you pretty comfortably. And yeah, he says that it looks like we're going to be traveling buddies for the next many days.
A couple of 14 nights. So
You're getting softer and softer, Corey. Are you getting farther from your mic?
yeah, I think I did.
I'm
So
also echoing off of somebody.
There we go.
The next question is that your animals here looks like they wanted to eat me.
Oh, they're trained. Don't worry.
Don't worry, Caddy, I'll protect you.
They stay in the top level of the floor anyways. That's their nest. They only come down if I call them. Watch this. And he whistles, and the whistle is pretty incredibly loud to you guys. But as soon as he does so, the birds instantly, or the griffins instantly, leave the floor and fly back up, and you can kind of hear them shuffling around and straw kind of falling out.
One last question, Zephyros, before we go to sleep or rest for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where King Hexagram's castle might have been last seen before they disappeared?
Oh, Maelstrom you're talking about. Yes. Where exactly is a very good question. Not too many people know that. You see, Hecaton is a storm giant, and storm giants live at the deepest depths of the sea. Getting to Maelstrom is no easy task, and to be honest, only the kind of high council giants are ever able to do so. I've never met Hecaton myself. Only Countess Senzuri and her kind of successors have ever had a meeting with Hecaton. Getting to Maelstrom is something that not many people can say they've ever done.
Would that include a storm giant? Maybe.
Well, I think all storm giants know how to get to Maelstrom because they live there. So I imagine, and you can see the gears turning. Maybe they just never leave, or I don't really know how that works.
Well,
Interesting question.
I'm gonna tell you what I've came across a few of them in my journey here in the ocean.
Oh, so they do leave their homes. Interesting. I'll have to note that.
Apparently, do you know of a young lady named Circe?
Sarissa?
Yes, I'm sorry. I met her for a very short time.
Yes, of course. That's one of Hecaton's 3 daughters.
So then I've met Hecaton.
I haven't met her, but I've heard of her.
I've met her, and I think I've met Hecaton.
Really?
I'm certain of it.
You've met Hecaton, the king of all giants.
Yeah.
And you're still alive? That's I knew that you 4 would be able to do this. If you've met Hecaton and lived, he's not very fond of small folk, and I can tell you for sure that
very much not. Yeah, Sarissa actually is kind of my friend.
Really?
Really?
He's like, "Are you pulling my leg? Are you sure you're not? Maybe you're the bard that tells all the good, or the paladin that tells all the good stories."
No. It was very real. As I said, I made my travels here from Azteca. Have you ever heard of that before?
Can't say I have.
You know how you've been all around this planet, or whatever, this plane, right?
I mostly soar my castle around the Sword Coast and Savage Frontier.
But you do know that there's water after the Sword.
Yes. I've seen one time when I contact the other planes, they showed me the entire world of Toro all at once, and poof, I gotta admit, that was a lot to take in.
I'm sure. So you know how like there was this Sword Coast in the Faerun, and then there was the other large island on the other side.
Yes.
That's Mazteca.
Wow, you're quite far away from home.
Yes, and on my way here, I came across a large storm with very large waves, and it actually wasn't a storm. It was Sarissa and her mother that they came to the surface.
Interesting.
And then, yeah, it was a very terrifying situation. But out of that situation, I did make a friend, as I said. Sarissa felt pity on me, I believe, for what she created with the destruction of my boat and such. We spent a few days together, and as I said, I believe I actually befriended her. But then another day, shut it, Warren.
I was just gonna ask how big she was.
Larger than even him. She was. And then her father showed up, and he was the largest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he was mean.
Hecaton is one of the biggest giants to be dated, even bigger than the rulers before. It's said that he is over 40 feet tall.
Easily. I only think I saw half of him, and he was as tall as his daughter was. And he was very angry with the fact that Sarissa wanted to have contact with the small folk, as she called me. But she asked for his mercy, and he granted it. And then they were gone.
Well, consider yourself lucky.
She told me that if I needed her help, she may be able to help me, but she'd be going against her father's orders.
Well, it seems like her father is missing, so she might need you now more than you need her. But I'm sure finding her will be no easy task. For, like I said, Maelstrom is somewhere. You know how massive the ocean is, right? You've sailed across it. somewhere in that ocean, at the very depths of it, is said to be Maelstrom.
She would have no recollection of where that happened, right? It was just in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, like it would be impossible to kind of pin it out. It was like literally you were sailing in nothing but ocean in all the ways that you can see for days.
Yeah.
And then it just happened one day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What I can tell you here, Zephyros, is it was certainly a few days into my travels. I couldn't see anything but water as far as I could see, and I wish I had a way to call her, but I do not.
He nods and says, yes, that sounds like the ocean. A lot of water.
But I did learn how to do this, and she starts speaking to him in Giant. And she said,
he would reply impressed and say, like, oh, you know how to speak Giant in Giant.
yeah. It's I can comment now. It's
You're a little rough around the edges, but it's not bad.
I'm assuming I learned it in like 3 days. This is very concerning because she was so lovely.
Well, I think that it makes more sense now that I've found you for then. It seems that you're already in some way connected to this, even if you didn't know it. It seems that Livy here knows of a giant. You said you've met a giant, and, well, you two, I'm not sure how you're tied up in this, but you're friends with them, and I'm sure in one way or another.
Dragon?
A dragon? Ugh. You don't associate yourself with such awful creatures, don't you?
Well, geez, he just had a drink one night, and then the drink turned him into a dragon. It must have been a powerful drink. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I wouldn't associate yourself with dragons. They are just not good people.
Assholes, I think.
Indeed, assholes. You know that giants and dragons have warred for centuries. They actually destroyed our great city, Astoria. It was an ancient city many centuries ago. Once giants all lived under the same city, a great civilization, and a war between dragons ended up destroying it. And now it's lost. So I gotta admit, I'm not a very big fan of dragons.
Well, Zephyros, you'd be a big fan of Saul. He's a nice guy, and you got to give him a chance.
I suppose you're right.
I cannot remember the dragon's name of Rin's past, but Livy would be like, do you know of insert blue dragon's name?
Imarith?
Yes, there we go. Do you know Imarith?
Let me do a check on him to see if he does actually. He might. Check. I have not. No, I've not heard of that name.
It was a dragon that my grandpa.
Another good one.
I'd say so. Her lightning turned things to stone and animated them too.
From the stories I've heard of Imarith, he was a great dragon who could possibly have been in the war with the giants, for all I know.
Yes, a lot of those dragons are old. Old is favor in itself.
Yeah.
But I apologize. There's a lot of dragons out in the world, and I have not heard of Imarith.
Well, just if you had wondered when you last had heard rumors of her.
I can look it up. I do have this encyclopedia of dragons.
Eyes go big. Yes.
And he starts shuffling through the rows of books, and he's like in the D's and going through it all, and then
Livy's like,
it must be here somewhere.
For him, like trying to keep up, and
then he's kind of shuffling around, and you can see him getting more and more frustrated, and he's like, well, blasted. I can't find it anywhere. It must be those gosh darn Nargles. They always are taking my stuff and hiding it on me.
Oh, Nargles are the worst.
Right?
Here, and if you put me up on this shelf that you think it's in, I'll walk along and you guys keep talking. I'll find the book.
All right. You want to give her a perception check to see if you can find it?
Yes. Come on, skills don't fail me now. Okay, let's see if I can do this right. Perception. We're going to grab the dice, the jigger. Okay, and toss. 14.
14. We'll say you find it.
Yeah. So, yeah, she'll be doing this. I don't know how long you want it to take for her to find it, but...
Yeah, it'll take you a little while because the books are literally like bigger than you. So
D-R-A-G-O dragon. No, just dragon. Where's the dragon encyclopedia?
so yes, you flip through it, and when you find it, he pulls it out, and basically he starts flipping through the pages. And yes, Imarith, right here. Oh, it's a she actually.
Yep.
And starts going through it. And let me actually, I'll read something to you in a second. Give me a second here to make sure.
Sure.
Oh, he's a very vain and territorial blue dragon, said to soar over the skies of deserts, preying on caravans and plundering herds of settlements in verdant lands beyond the desert's reach.
So she's
And going through it, yes, it's said that she's actually a very powerful caster that has the ability to turn living to stone and stone to living.
Yeah.
Very, wow. Yes, she seems like quite the nasty one. And go ahead.
Was she the one that created all those things that we fought?
Huh?
You know, for your uncle there. The stone beans.
I was suspecting that, but I don't think that was her because, well, I don't know.
Oh, look at this! It says right here that she can assume the forms of other creatures, pretty much anything that she wants to. That's quite interesting.
So
Terrifying.
she may not be in the desert anymore.
So she might literally be like, she could be you.
I can't cast lightning.
Sonny can cast lightning.
I cannot cast lightning. You can. Sure.
Well,
Well, I guess you're not as good as I am then.
and he put out a notepad and started writing things down about basically like his little diary. And can anyone read giant? Because he's writing it in these kind of giant runes.
Come
Yep,
in,
I can.
So, what's that?
I can only speak giant, correct?
I think you can briefly read it too. Like you're not super fluent in it, but
Octavius is superbly fluent in giant.
beautiful. So basically, I'll pull up the old giant runes, and you're gonna see a couple more runes that he writes down. So let me share that. And he basically writes about how he's been on a journey. So he writes down Ferd, which is the rune for being on a journey, and how he's met all these kind of interesting peoples, and the entities have told him of these 4 entities and how they're full of life. So he writes the rune for live, which is life. He speaks of the impending war, which is coming, which is the rune for Krieg. And what else does he write about? He writes about how they talked about a dragon who can turn things to stone, which reminds him of the stone giants. It said that he's kind of like, as he's writing, he goes in like these little tangents about basically like it's his mind speaking. And he's like, well, they spoke of this dragon that can turn things to stone. And that kind of reminds me of the stone giants. I think that I've once heard that the stone giants have the ability to shape stone at will. And I guess it's not really the same. And he's actually like writing this down as he's going. So it's probably like a little distracting to read. And then other than that, he basically finishes up how he's bringing you guys to Bryn Shanders, which is up in the Icewind Dale areas and surrounded by mountains. and that's about it.
I have the feeling you want us to learn how to read this by the end of the game.
I don't know. Okay, I could just be showing it for no reason. But anyways, after that kind of goes, you guys all gonna get acquainted, and hours go by, and nighttime falls, and he tells you that it's time that you guys should probably call it a night, and we'll pick up in the morning.
But right before we fall asleep, Octavius will look over at Sunlit and say, Sunlit, please regale us with tales of your Lord Pelor.
And cast a lightning bolt, damn it. I want to see.
And Sunny just prepares her, her bed and her bedroll and such, and curls up with relics and ignores all three, the both of you.
Octavius, why do you think she goes around in circles and circles and circles before she lays down? I just don't understand this.
Because I'm a damn cat.
Just lay in your damn
figured out
bed.
either, Warren.
Yeah, and obviously you guys don't have to go to bed right away. If you guys have any other questions that you want to ask Zephyros, he actually loves to stay and talk. So he would talk to you guys if you have any other questions for him.
Olivia would probably just chatting up a storm. And there's this story and this story about that, and my grandfather told me about this one time, and yeah, and Hashnag. This is all the things that I know about him. Does that sound about pretty accurate to what stone or storm giants are, and blah 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 blah, and then she realized up of the next day and be like, I probably should get some sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the record, to some of those things, he would tell you that absolutely frost giants are known to be fearsome warriors. So it would make sense that frost giant would be so basically brave and courageous and skilled as you speak of. He would tell you stories of basically his people, more stories about the ordering and how he's concerned. He doesn't want people to get hurt, and that he's always small folk, which is basically what he calls you guys if you haven't caught that. And that giants always kind of smear at you guys, but you're always so interesting to him. He can't comprehend how such little tiny things have so much life and ambition in them.
He's like the Hagrid of the cloud giants.
Yeah, pretty much. And for the record, he is looking through his library for the worm skull, things about that. So you might get to learn more about that, Dan.
Cool.
And other than that, any other things that anybody wants to ask him before they call it a night? Then you guys call it a night, and we'll take a quick 5-minute break and go from there. So go ahead and go to the washroom, get a drink, and we'll pick it back up in less than 5 minutes. All right.
Okay.
BRB.
What?
I was gonna fish hook you.
No.
Yes.
Right, it didn't. By the way, this is a live recording.
That's okay. It would be their most popular ever because of fish hook.
It looks nice.
Now, see?
Excellent.
It's a little haphazard because I don't have a saw and I don't have the right length of screws, but it should be solid.
I should
enough
play
to
music.
survive.
Like the intermission kind of thing.
I don't understand.
Okay,
Okay, I understand that. It's just being. Kind of tired of it going slow here.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Merci beaucoup.
Blah 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 blah.
Blah 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 blah.
How was work, man?
Oh, pretty terrible, but that's all right.
Busy as hell or what?
Kind of strange. It was super dead until about 8:30, and then we got absolutely destroyed.
Nice.
Yeah, always good.
Paul, tell anybody what I told him yesterday, or is he keeping it under his broom for right now?
He hasn't made a notice of it yet.
Cool.
Yeah. So how'd you like the throwback to Dragar and
Oh my gosh! Oh, that was so awesome. I was like, wait, why is he describing Dan's other character? Oh, I see what's going on here. I'm going to be not Gaia. Okay, whatever. I'm the bard. Woo!
Yeah. I decided to do that a while back for Morgan and Corey. If you didn't catch it, basically the people I described were the people from my Curse of Strahd campaign, the players that Mary and Dan and everybody else played. So they were supposed to be the heroes of this story, but I guess you guys are going to have to do.
Oh. Lucky us.
I can play
Yeah.
Gaia again. That'll be my backup character. If Livy ends up dying, poof, Gaia's. Wait a minute, you sound awfully familiar.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. So everyone back
Yep.
by the sounds of it. Yeah. So we'll get back to this. You guys wake up from a sleep, and surprisingly enough, or maybe not surprisingly enough, this basically field of bed that you guys get to lay on is more than enough room for all of you to sleep and not even really be near each other in any way. So you kind of lay on his spare bed and call it a night. You wake up during the day, and you can hear that Zephyros is up above, and he has the navigation orb, he calls it, which is what he says that he uses to describe this, or to steer the castle that he's on. And he puts it kind of like in an autopilot mode, which he assures you is completely and utterly safe, and he's only crashed it like a couple times this
How
month.
old are you? Oh, this month. Great.
But don't worry about that. And he'd kind of come sailing down and ask you guys how your sleep was and all that.
Oh, it was quite good, sir. Thank you very much. You did very well by us last night.
Yeah,
Like I slept on a cloud.
yeah.
I had
Our
this
beds are
down
actually.
practically needing my pillow and swatted it away, but it was okay.
He tells you that Cloud Giant's beds are actually made from cloud.
Makes sense.
And he laughs at what you say, Warren. And
Who wants pancakes?
oh, I love
she
pancakes.
makes good pancakes.
He would absolutely be interested in. If so, he'd bring you upstairs and basically pull out from a shelf a cooking stove. But the pan itself is like enough to fry you guys up with ease and have room for more. The flame itself is like a city being on fire, or maybe not that big, obviously, but like
I just have this picture of literally like oversized equipment just working them
yeah.
as she could. And then like when she finally pours it, like almost slipping and falling in, but it's like, whew, that would have been horrible.
Mm-hmm. So you make pancakes for everybody. Do you want to roll to see how good they are?
Get +2. I'm just gonna roll random d20. But you.
Not as amazing as the first time, but it's probably the equipment. But nonetheless, you make some pretty good pancakes. And Zephyros, they're like the size of his pinky, kind of like picks them up and eats like 20 of them at least. Says that they're like really tasty little cookies or whatever.
We're gonna need more, Livy. He ate them all.
Yeah. He takes your entire first serving for everybody and like eats it all in one mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, don't you get a +2 to that?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, it's 14.
Yeah.
And probably something else. I can't remember what base stat was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, they're good
like
pancakes.
survival?
I think it was a survival or performance. I can't remember. They're good pancakes regardless, for sure.
Okay,
It's not natural 20 pancakes.
It's
So-
like, yeah, it'd be 16 altogether. But
Yeah. So Sunny is. There windows and such.
Yeah. Basically, if you remember, there's kind of stained glass windows, but then from the north and south, we're just going to call it to keep it simple. There's like these platforms that you can walk outside and basically look out, and that's where the griffins kind of land and come inside. But the griffins are upstairs, and he tells you that they're sleeping if you were to ask. So there's definitely ways that you can go and look out.
Yeah, she'd like to go outside and take a look around. With Relix, so on and so forth, and
All right.
she'd like to let Relix fly around a bit.
Yeah, Relix would absolutely love to basically kind of fly around. He doesn't go too far away from the castle itself because it actually is quite windy, and flying at this altitude would be very strange for him. But he kind of like basically soars around the tower itself and comes to you as he gets more and more comfortable with it.
Yeah, and that is something that she's gonna work on with Relix, throughout our journey.
Mhm.
That we'll go out, multiple times a day, let him fly around, so he becomes more accustomed to this altitude.
Yeah, and it also gives you a chance to be more accustomed to training him. So go ahead and give me animal handling and see how well that goes.
Not really.
Basically, getting you closer to having like complete and utter control over him.
Yeah. Not really a great skill for her, but stupid. I grabbed this record instead of the die. Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, you did very well. So within maybe an hour of training with Relix, you get pretty good at him getting comfortable with the altitude and you telling him like to fly, and you're actually able to tell him to like go to places and come back. You get like basically some kind of animal. I don't know how cats talk to each other, but you figure it out.
I don't know. I never owned a cat before, so I guess they would just kind of meow to each other. I don't know.
Yeah. Meow. And then he comes exactly where you want him to.
I don't know. I literally never had a cat before. But actually, he can understand common. He just can't talk back to me.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding, but definitely
but
he understands what you're saying.
No, it's it's a thing, and we're working on it.
Yep.
I hope to work with him enough to maybe gain proficiency in animal handling.
Yeah. You'll have to work on it some more, but definitely in terms of working with Relix, you'll probably be there pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
In the horizon, you start to see a mountain basically ahead of you. You're still up rather high, but this mountain itself actually almost seems to be kind of level, or at least close to where the castle is floating. So Zephyros goes to the navigational orb and kind of inclines a bit more to make sure that he doesn't crash into it. He tells you that that mountain is called... He lies to you and doesn't tell you anything. What's that? Yeah, I'm sharing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells you that... God damn it. This is a mountain that connects to the high road and runs through it towards Thornhold. and then from Thornhold is Leelon, and then quite the distance away
Wait,
is Neverwinter.
Did we pass Waterdeep?
No.
Waterdeep? What do you mean Waterdeep? Oh my goodness! And he looks at you and says, Waterdeep, we've passed that hours ago.
I needed to go to Waterdeep.
Well, we'll see what Thornhold has for us.
And he kind of looks at you and looks very disappointed in himself. And he says, I'm sorry, my friend, but we soared through that early in the morning before you woke. I completely forgot.
Well, what is the next largest city after Waterdeep?
Well, probably Neverwinter. Neverwinter is just as big or close to it.
It never snows there.
Maybe. I've never been. Usually small folk aren't too kind to giants just showing up to their cities.
Have any of you been to this Neverwinter before?
I imagine Warren has. He travels around a lot, skimming people, so.
Yeah, you've probably almost definitely been to Neverwinter. Where did we say you were from, Warren? Did we say you were from Waterdeep? Or I can't remember where your origin story actually took place from. Was it? It was either Neverwinter.
It was in Waterdeep. I
Yeah, it
mean,
was in
that's
Waterdeep.
technically where he's from, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah. So
go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I've been to Waterdeep. You're not missing much, Sweeney.
Well, I've been to Waterdeep too. Are you talking about Neverwinter?
Neverwinter, yes. Whatever. What do you need to go there for? What do you need?
Well,
Almost broken.
and you could tell that she's trying to hold it together, but she's becoming more and more jittery every day that she hasn't had a drink. And you've heard her rambling about the fact that she has a broken weapon. You know that she needed to talk to her person that was going to be of the Sun Soul, that she no longer is practicing any longer. So there's some things I needed to do in Waterdeep.
Yeah.
But if it's this place that doesn't have winter,
Yes, they sometimes call it always summer.
Always summer.
really, that sounds wonderful, actually.
Strange thing. I don't understand. But they have everything you could want, just like Waterdeep.
Zephyros would see that you're clearly upset though, and he would genuinely be like apologetic and kind of like feel bad that he let you down. He just lets you know that he's a very forgetful giant at times, and he's not used to ever really going to small folk cities, so it kind of just he tells you that he got thinking about something else and didn't even think about it.
That's fine. But hey, look, I was able to teach Relix this, and she has him go out of the window, fly around the castle, and come back in the south window.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yes, that's impressive. Maybe one day he can play with the bird kitties.
No. They looked at him as food the other day.
That's
fair.
That's too fast for them.
So yeah, basically, so we don't go through each day for like however long it's going to take, because Neverwinter is actually quite far away. We're going to start kind of time skipping.
Okay.
He would definitely tell you though that he's kind of skeptical to go to like a small folk city, especially with how things are right now. Like they might take that as a sign of war if they see a cloud giant castle hovering above their city.
Well, is there any
he would tell you that stories of Nightstone definitely probably are going to travel, and but yeah, go ahead.
Is there any way that you could maybe just float over the wood or something and then drop us off and we could go and then come back?
You want me to drop you off in the water?
No.
Just over the road somewhere here on the high road, and you go up rather high, and then we could. I don't know.
I say you drop her over the water. Sunny loves water.
I was just.
I will land under the ground like a cat, and that would not be a problem. Hint, 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 slow fall that she has inherently. But but yeah, we don't know about from 1,000 feet in the air.
Yeah, he tells you that he normally flies this high so that no one actually sees it and just assumes that it's just another cloud.
But we're with you. Like, that really should say something.
But we're nobody here.
Doesn't matter.
Speak for yourself.
If there's 4 of us, and as long as our character or our actions and whatnot are honorable, like, why would we question?
I mean, that's a good way to look at it, but I don't know a lot about small folk, but I know that if cloud giants were to show up here, just because I'm with you, definitely wouldn't mean that you're safe.
True.
And you're also traveling with me, Livy.
And
A bit different,
how is that?
really.
No, she just like has no. Like, the idea of people like being judgmental and not is like not her thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and she just kind of looks at you and puzzled. Before like a month ago, had you ever seen a creature like me before?
No, but I've heard stories.
Right. And most of the time the stories were legend, right? Have you ever met another person that had met a tabaxi like me before?
She'll think a moment. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that her grandpa probably has talked about meeting one.
Yeah, but I don't believe he really did. There, Livy. And I'm being very honest. Look, we're in a room of 4 people, one being a giant that has lived longer than anybody that you ever known. And he's never seen a tabaxi before. So what do you think that town of not having winter is going to think of me? I'm a bit of a liability in this party, but it's...
Well, it's exciting to have met you. Like, why wouldn't anyone else think the same? Like, stories have always been adventurous and whatnot. I don't recall any bad.
You don't think there's bad people, Livy?
Oh, I'm sure there's bad everywhere. There's bad humans, there's bad elves, there's bad dwarves. I'm sure there's bad. Fill in your race name.
But not really. Most of us tabaxi get along, and then actually the halflings and humans and elves came to tabaxi. I mean to Mansteca, and they kind of became the bad guys. But anyways, the long and short of it is that I need some wine. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to hold this together. I need some.
And as you say that, we switch to a montage of 5 days going past. And you'll quickly learn that this castle is definitely faster than walking, but you're definitely not making time as much as you would expect to. I don't know if I have the world map basically pulled up in front of you.
Yeah.
If you can see it. And we'll say, if you zoom in really close, I have a token of actually Octavius that I'm going to use as you guys because it was there. And then I'm going to shrink it. And basically from 5 days, this is how far you've made it. So you're basically still in the mountains, the Sword Mist Mountains, or the Sword Mountains they're called, sorry. And time definitely isn't sailing by as quick as you would hope. Although you still understand that it is definitely faster than walking. It's probably almost, I'm not going to say double because obviously that would cut the journey in half, but like it's quick enough to be worth it, I presume, and a lot safer, obviously. Walking the high road can be, even though it's a well-traveled road, can still be dangerous. But yeah, 5 days pass of this. That being said, 5 days ago, Sunny was saying that she needs wine. How is she currently holding up now that it's been 5 days?
You muted.
She's dead. That's how bad she is.
Right. You just see Livy like, I think you're just thirsty. Here, have some water. Here, have some juice. Here, have some milk. Whatever she can find.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay. So I left it to chance, and I rolled a 20, and said that if I rolled low, it was going to turn out worse for her, and if I rolled above 10, 10, it was going to be better, and I rolled an 8. So she is starting to get definitely stir crazy.
Yeah.
First off, it's the first time she's ever been locked inside of a building.
The giant's ale that he swears might kill you is becoming ever more tempting.
100%. And on the 5th day, she does pull Zephyros aside and says, May I see that giant cell?
I don't know.
Maybe if I just take one mouthful.
I've literally heard stories that a dwarf, which I've heard are very good at drinking, literally took a shot and was never the same again. They went blind. They couldn't talk anymore. He could barely walk.
And that was
sure that's a
permanent.
good idea? Yeah, I don't think he ever came back from it.
Do you do this anywhere around Warren, Sonny?
No.
So that he could see? No.
Not at all. She doesn't really like Warren. Margaret. Are you sleeping, Mary? All right, Zephyros.
Although I gotta admit, I need a drink myself. I'm quite worried right now. And he actually corks it. And when he corks it, he's actually like, he's standing up and you're standing on the ground. But as soon as he corks it, you can smell the stench of alcohol. And it is so incredibly potent and pure that, like, when you smell like an alcohol that you've gotten like really hungover on and it kind of makes you quiver.
Yeah.
You get that instantly, even though he's standing like 18 feet above you. And then he drinks it and says, "Oh, I'm just so worried."
It's not very nice, Zephyros. I'm having a bit of an issue right here. She kind of shakes a little bit. And not very nice, Zephyros.
I'm sorry. I mean, if you want a drink,
I do not want to have physical impairment from it. Permanent physical impairment. But I have an idea. When we get towards that Neverwinter town, I'd like to land outside of town. Let at least me get off this island, and she's gonna call it an island. And I will go take care of my business and fly back up to a suitable height. And when I come back out to where the meeting place is, we can just continue our journey. Does that sound agreeable? And then there won't be as much of a problem. So here's a question. Those stairs that we followed, could you not just let them down?
Yeah, I suppose I could. That's what they do.
I would be very willing.
It seems like a lot of hassle just for a drink, Are you sure that you... It doesn't seem good that you need something like this so bad. Usually, I don't know about your wine, but when giants drink, it's not something that is good to become... And he's like, I don't really want to tell you how to live your life, but...
I originally thought I was going to become a different kind of monk, Zephyros. But then we met a man named Winston, and he made the drink that was so intoxicating, not so much even in a getting drunk sense, It changed me.
Why don't you just get a bottle from him then? I'm sure he must have some.
He's a Nightstone, and his wife was killed. It's a very involved story.
You should have brought some with you. It seems like a pretty poor decision in hindsight.
I wish I could have, but he swore not to create the drink any longer. There wasn't any left in the town of Nightstone. And then we made our way towards Waterdeep, as I was supposed to be going to. She says a little bit more loudly.
He kind of cringes.
Yeah. And then we came across your stairs. And our
And as you're talking to him, you kind of notice that he's like slowly like drifting away and like not really paying attention to you. And like halfway through this conversation, you realize that like he's not even listening anymore. He's like looking outside nervously.
What is the issue? Zephyros.
Oh, yes. And what's everybody else doing? I imagine you're probably all around at this point.
Yeah. What are you looking at?
Livy has a big book that she is like one giant page flipping at a time.
Absolutely.
Same. Octavius has been just buried in books this whole time, utilizing the library.
Give me a perception check, Octavius, to see if you can find anything on the worm skull.
If you happen to look around, Sonny, you'll notice Warren just kind of looking at you with a big smile on his face.
You do not have any luck finding the book yet, but Zephyros swears that it's somewhere in this library, and that you've been kind of looking for it on and off for 5 days now. He has a lot of books, like hundreds of them. So, but he tells you not to give up and that he's going to keep looking to you, but you don't find it just yet.
Cool.
You see before, literally Zephyros isn't like, you call out to him and he still doesn't even hear you at this point. Do you want to address Warren before you like basically force his attention? And that's to Sunny, who's just kind of smiling at you, giving you that probably patronizing smile that you're used to.
Yeah, I said in the chat there. You know, I mean, I know that Corey knows that Warrendale has that bottle of wine, but Sonny has forgotten that.
Sonny, come here.
Yes, Warren. What are you gonna make fun of me of today?
I think you have a problem. Am I mistaken?
What do you mean, Warren?
An addiction, you can say, but that's okay. Warren has your back. He'll kind of put his back down. Hey. Warren always has your back. Don't worry. Sift around in his pack a little bit and take out that nice bottle of aged wine, kind of staring at it in front of you for a few moments. Then he'll give it to you.
Your mouth instantly starts to salivate, Sonny, because it all floods back to you all at once. You remember Winston talking about this bottle, and it's his most prized bottle of wine that he's ever had. He's aged it for 100 years to perfection, and it was supposed to be the bottle of wine that him and his wife shared on their 100th anniversary, but obviously that was cut short. The taste that he told you about this when he was talking about it is supposed to be like the best wine in the world. Like this would sell for hundreds of gold pieces.
You can have it. Just perhaps think about your path you're following it. He'll just turn and walk away from you.
She's standing dumbfounded with the bottle in her hands. That's very... She wants to say awful of you to keep that from her. Nice of you to give that to me, Warren.
Piss off.
Every time, it's like you have to do something mean after you do something nice. Wonderful.
At this point, though, as you have that exchange, Zephyros, you hear him kind of like he's standing out on the parapet, looking out into the sky, and you hear him calling out, "Smoochy! Griffers! Veltrex! Where are you? Come back!" And he starts making like little calls.
Octavius would peek up from his books and pay a little bit more attention to Zephyros.
And you hear him kind of mum to himself, "Where have those gosh darn bird kitties went? They went off hunting, but that was hours ago. They should have been back by now. I hope that Stuart hasn't got them in trouble again."
Always Stuart.
Frickin' Stuart, he says to himself. And then he would start calling out again. To which the griffins would not come back.
Is there a problem, Zephyros?
Oh, sorry. It's just that, well, my griffins, they go out hunting every morning and they bring back food, right? Like, you guys know this, and you have been accustomed because that's how he actually eats. But they haven't been back now, and it's past noon. They're never gone this long.
And who's Stuart again?
Stuart is one of the griffins. You would know Stuart. They all kind of have their own personalities. Smoochies is like very lovable and kind of cuddly. Stuart is kind of like the snobby one. He likes to. He thinks he's the best griffin, and is always trying to prove so.
Was there anything you can think we can help you with? Is there a way to call them back somehow?
Maybe you can call with me.
Yeah, sure.
So, does anyone else help him join in calling back the griffins?
No.
Or is it just Octavius and Zephyros yelling out?
I feel like Livy, like, so engrossed in like whatever book she saw. Like, I can see her like coming across like a recipe book and just going, "Oh, giants make their pancakes very different." And then like hearing this Smoochie, like this call, like kind of look at her, it's like, what are they doing? And like just go out there, just not even ask them what they're doing, just start calling with them, just Smoochie, and she might prestidigitation in various forms or whatever to maybe attract something.
Bonus point of inspiration if anyone can remember all 4 names. First person to say it.
Smoochie, Stuart, Bellatrix, and
Oh,
what?
close. What's the last one?
Same one I can't remember.
Griffey.
Griffey? I'll give it to you. It's close enough.
So it had something to do with Griffin.
Griffers.
Griffers. Yeah.
I'll give it to you, Sonny. Point of inspiration. Anyways, between Livy, Octavios, and Zephyros, you guys kind of call these griffins for over an hour, I'll say, unless you quit. And they don't come back. And you can tell that Zephyros' mood, who is pretty cheerful and a jovial guy, he instantly starts to get nervous and sad. And as the days go on, as the day goes on, he gets more and more worried. Until at one point, when the sun is about to set, you hear the squawk of a griffin. As you all stand up and kind of rush towards the parapet, this has become this whole day has kind of become an ordeal now, as Zephyros has been like tearing through books, trying to find a way to call griffins and all that, and cooking all these favorite foods to see if they'd come back. It never works, but now after hours, you hear the wings, and he instantly jumps up and runs to the parapet, where in the distance you see one griffin. It's Veltrex, the first one. The black one comes up, and then suddenly Stuart is right behind him, and then behind him is Griffers, and then behind him is Smoochies, and they're just flying at rapid pace. And then bursting through the clouds is a creature that is following behind them. It is a large creature, and it seems to be chasing them.
Don't be a rock. Don't be a rock. Don't be a rock.
As you look and it comes into the distance, the griffins are flying as quick as they can, but this creature is quicker than them, and it comes upon them, and the first thing that you see is what looks like dragon wings.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then as it gets in closer, though, you realize that it has, yes, a dragon's head, but also a lion's head. And then on top of that, a goat's head. and the feet of lions and the hooves of a goat. As this creature lets out a horrible roar of a lion and a fire's breath behind it, you see that a chimera, is chasing after them. The griffins start to soar towards you, but the lion kind of comes up and chomps into one. Zephyros instantly starts to panic, but Veltrex is able to pull himself free and continue to fly towards the roost. It is able to make it there, but the chimera is right behind and about to approach the base at any moment.
How close is the chimera?
Or chimera, I'm probably botching the pronunciation. Chimera. Yeah. It is, I'm going to say, 40 feet away from you right now.
And what griffin is it chasing?
It's chasing after all of them, but it just recently bit into Veltrex. And it looked like Veltrex was maybe going to get caught, but he was able to pull himself free. You see that his blood is dripping from its neck, though.
So Veltrex is definitely the closest one to the chimera?
Yep.
I will cast Sanctuary on Bellatrix.
Beautiful.
So, just in case you want the fun of it.
Yep.
Basically means that they have to make a wisdom save before they can attack her.
All right, let's do that. It definitely fails. What's your DC, actually? I shouldn't say definitely. Your DC
my DC.
8 plus your wisdom plus your proficiency.
So it's 13.
13, it failed. So then does it miss its attack or?
It's basically just any attack that it takes on Bellatrix after this, it has to make a wisdom save or it has to move that attack over to somebody else.
All right, so it kind of soars into the griffins are able to, it goes in to bite him again, but your spell kind of goes through and stops it from doing so, which gives the griffins enough time to make it back to the roost. But at this point, the chimera is standing basically right outside 30 feet away, and you kind of all are standing out on the parapets. You hear Zephyros just absolutely like losing his mind, just like freaking out, like, oh no, my kitties, don't tear my kitties, you bastard. And he's just kind of like absolutely going crazy about it. When they run into the roost, he instantly turns around and goes up and kind of like soars into the roost to see if they're okay. And it's at that moment that you realize that he kind of left you with this large beast, 3-headed creature with dragon wings. And with no griffins in sight, it fixes its vision on you guys. Now, we're at 2 a.m., which is normally when we quit. Do you want to go into initiative, or do you guys want to call it a night?
I'm fine on my end.
I know that.
I'll kick the shit out of the bird right now, but after that, I gotta go.
Yeah, are you sure, Dan? I know you had a really long day today.
That's okay. I'm good.
If
All right.
Dan's good, I'm good.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll be up per hour, so it won't really matter.
All right, let's do it then. Everyone roll initiative.
Oh, Jesus.
How do you say it again? I knew how to pronounce this before the game started, but now my brain is dead. Chimera.
Chimera. Yep.
What am I calling it? A chimera?
You said like 3 different.
Yeah. At the beginning of the session, I knew how to say it, but I'm just so like brain dead right now that Chimera. Chimera. I got it.
Yeah, chimera.
It's funny that I can't say that. Whatever. All right, everybody's in.
Yeah,
Libby.
And your order is exactly the opposite of the way we rolled.
It's funny. I'll show the Chimera. We're not going to use a battle map for this. We can just clear the mine it. You basically are on the 2nd level, so 80 feet from the actual, we'll call it ground, but it's technically the cloud base. And this Chimera is basically flying at this point in front of you. Now, the parapet itself is at least 40 feet long and we'll say 30 feet wide. So there's lots of room to move around. Although as of right now, there's like nothing for really coverage. So what do you do, Livy? I think I said 30 feet away in the air.
30 feet. Wow. She's scrambling back real quick to her gear and grabbing her hand crossbow. And her rapier just to be like, just as it gets close enough for her to stab it. But she will then return, and if she's able to make an attack, she will happily hold up the hand crossbow. And
what's the range on a hand crossbow?
that's a really good question. I want to say it's within 30 feet.
It should tell you if you hover over it. Go to your actions and then hover over your hand crossbow, the little bulletin shield.
Ah, there it is. Actions. And the little
80 to 30. So you'll definitely be in range, but it'll be at disadvantage because you'll be, I imagine, more than 80 feet away.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something about
Because it's 30 feet away and the parapet's like 40 feet away and your gear is reasonably at least 10 feet in. So I think that's probably around 80 feet, we'll say.
Yeah, she would moved back towards.
Yeah.
Still,
go ahead and So you can click disadvantage in the bottom left-hand corner.
Hey, I just rolled 2 9s.
Yeah, nice.
14.
I think a 14 hits it. Let me make sure. Actually, I told you that it hit, didn't it? Or did we not? We didn't target it. But yes, a 14 does hit it.
Yeah, so, it's supposed to drop it on that. So
yeah. So go ahead and drop your damage on it.
Did it work? Did it work?
Yes, it did. Just took 6 piercing damage as a you kind of scramble and you run into the room. And you're looking everywhere for your gear and you find it. You pull your hand crossbow or the bow and it's quite a long shot, but you line it up and you're able to shoot it through the air and the wind just catches it right and sinks into the lion's head of this thing. Next up is said creature. It's going to let out a roar of its lion mouth, at which point it starts to fly towards you guys and in a 15-foot cone. So I'm going to say 2 of yous. And I'm going to roll right now. 1 is Sunlit. Warren is 2. Octavios is 3. And the 4 is nobody. So a 3 and a 2. Warren and Octavios make a dexterity saving throw. You're looking for a 15, which none of you hit. So this isn't going to be pretty. As it opens up its mouth, the dragon side, you see fire start to plume inside of its mouth. At which point it's... Let me actually make it target you guys.
How do you do that?
There's a couple ways. You can just control click it, I believe, or you can just drop your dice on the creature, and then that will target it in the initiative tracker. But as for you guys, let's roll this and... Oh.
That was a lot of dice.
Yeah, I didn't do it right, but you guys take 28 fire damage, which I believe puts you in pretty rough shape.
It kills me.
Warren drops to the ground in one of these terrifying breaths of fire. Is Octavio still standing?
Yeah.
All right. Technically, Warren is up next, so that puts him on a death save again. I'm sorry, Warren. I keep on fucking killing you.
Let's see.
Makes it.
It's a success, which puts Sunny and Rilix up next.
Yeah.
You instantly know after seeing that fighting this thing wide open with no cover is not going to be a good time if it can do that again.
Yeah. Absolutely. And she would get herself off of that parapet because that is not a good spot.
Yep.
Even though she is a close combat fighter for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely goes into the interior of the building and finds cover. Wait. She's gonna do this. Even though she doesn't like the guy, he did something nice for her today.
Oh shit.
And she goes and picks up Warren's body, then goes into the interior of the building, and props him up, gives him a couple slaps to see if she can like slap him awake, which doesn't work, and then takes a little bit of cover behind like a wall or something of the interior of the building. And then I'd like to hold my action to, if it gets within 20 feet of me, I'm going to throw a dart at it.
Okay. Octavios, taking a searing burn damage that almost drops you instantly. You see Warren hit the ground, at which point Sunny kind of dashes, uncharacteristically picks him up and runs inside. What do you do, being in?
As I'm watching Sunny pick up Warrendale and run inside, I basically just reach over and I touch Warren's foot as Sunny's spinning to go into the interior of the building, and I'll cast Cure Wounds on on Warrendale.
Okay.
Bam. So that should move him back up. I think yep. And then I will turn back to the Chimera, and I will
Move to the interior of the building, goofball. Sorry, I didn't mean to tell you.
Is the Chimera too big to get through the door?
Oh, no. Unfortunately for you, a normal human door, absolutely. But since this is a giant door, a large creature like this would have no problem just moseying on in.
Okay, I will, instead of actually making my way into the interior of the room, I will try to duck to the side of the door in case the Chimera comes through. Possibly I might be able to get behind it.
Okay. So are you trying to basically hide or?
Yeah, I guess I am.
All right. So make a stealth check. If your armor says so, do so at a disadvantage. I don't know if you're wearing heavy or not.
I am. Bam!
Yeah, you do. You definitely run around the corner and kind of duck, but you're kind of clanking as you do so, and you don't really know how stealthy you are. That puts us back at. Do you want Relix to do anything besides hide? Because
No, he will be on the ground next to me. I may do things with him once we have things to do, but not quite yet.
Absolutely. All right, that brings us back to Livy. As you are kind of like crossbow, turn around, shoot. The thing shoots a fire breath, which absolutely decimates half the party. They all run in after you and hide behind the corner. You hear Zephyros above you, which is another like probably 60 feet up in the roost, just like crying and like yelling like, "My poor Veltrex, that nasty creature got you. Oh, are you okay?" And then it's your turn.
Huh. Z, as she like marches over to probably one of the closest walls to outside, where she'd probably choose Zephyros and be like, if you know any spells, that would be a great time to utilize them on the Chimera. And she would then take aim again and obviously hit the Chimera.
A 12 misses. Now,
Darn it!
as you yell that, you realize through the commotion that your voice isn't going to carry as well. So in order to get his attention, who's currently like very upset and kind of like worried about his griffins, it's almost as if he's completely forgot you guys are here. So just kind of yelling out, "Hey, help us." He doesn't seem to hear you. Which puts the Chimera back up. Now he was 30 feet away. He flew on his turn, lands on the parapet, and starts moving in. Unfortunately, he only has 30 feet of movement, which puts him close enough into your dart range, Sunny.
Okay.
So go ahead and do that. Yep. Unfortunately, a miss. Now he 30 feet, so I'm gonna say that he's actually, unfortunately for him, one turn away from being close enough to hit you. So I'm gonna see if he has any.
So I'm gonna throw a second dart at him because I get.
I don't think you can with readied actions.
Yeah, I can't. Yep, because that's a bonus action.
And he's gonna try to recharge his fire breath. So if I do that, rip you guys. Does not do so, I don't think. So that puts.
That's usually for most creatures.
Yep.
So.
I'm trying to find it. Oh, it definitely does. 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
All right. Who's on which side? We're gonna say. I'm gonna say Sunny's on the left. Octavius is on the right.
Yeah.
Puts Warrendale with puts Warrendale with Sunny.
Yes.
And Livy, you're kind of in the middle. I'm picturing.
Sure.
So I'm gonna say it sees you. You're the only one that's not really hiding, Livy. So go ahead and make a dex save.
I'll use shield if I can. Is this spell?
What's that, sorry?
Is this spell being used against her?
No, it's a ability.
Shield.
It's not spellcasting, no.
Oh,
What are you trying to use? Shield?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is save. Shield's for AC.
So let's go here and
You really want to roll above a 15.
above a 15. Wow. This is right. Oh wait.
Don't forget, you guys also have an abundance of
I didn't want to roll that.
inspiration. Some of you.
Yeah, I got tons of it.
All right. Here we go. Rolling the save. Oh yeah.
Hey, so you take half the damage, which is going to be, oh my god, half of 47 is 20.
Right.
23, yeah. And that puts Warren up, who is now conscious, but probably half burnt alive.
Is this thing coming in like I can see it, right?
Oh yeah, it's going to be up
Okay.
in there in the next turn.
All right, let's see. In that case, Warren will stand up. He'll kind of look your way soon. He give you a little wink with his left eye and a smile. He kind of turns towards this thing. You can see his eyes light up a little bit. Sparks of lightning kind of cross across his body. Lifts off the ground a few feet. I'm going to use one of my inspiration. So let me mark that. So that'll give me advantage. If I drag the die right onto its thing, it works, right?
Yep. Or at least it should.
Or wait.
Yeah, it did. So you hit with whatever you're doing. Chromatic orb. Yep.
Chromatic orb, and I'm going to go with lightning.
Hell yeah.
And it's 12 damage on top of what it already took. So describe what that looks like.
So you can see the lightning just crossing across his body. He flows back a good 10 feet away from this thing, just shooting lightning bolts out the front of his hands as he kind of holds them forward, watching it wash over top of this creature. And with that, I'm going to use a point of my sorcery to take another spell as a bonus action for the same exact thing.
Cool.
So, oh, crap.
That hits still.
All right. And same thing. Where is it? Right there.
Damn.
Nice.
That is
And, same thing. He just lets off this huge blast of lightning after lightning after lightning. I can move 10 feet each time I cast a spell level 1 or more, so I'm just moving 20 feet away from this thing.
All right, so you definitely put yourself clear out of its range, even out of its fire breath. It doesn't have that big of a blast radius, so at least you know you're not taking one of those if it manages to recharge again. Warrendale sends off a crackling bolt of lightning with one hand and then fires up another one, and it just whips into this thing's faces. It hits the goat head, and you can just see burnt and charred skin from where the lightning cracked, and then into the dragon's face. We'll say it hit. Sunny, you're up next, as this thing just let another devastating fire breath out at Libby.
Yeah, she
Dodged mostly out of the way.
and kind of heads on to Relix's head, and says, "Hey, buddy, like we practice. I want you to fly out, and I'd like for you to land on it, but on its back, behind it."
I'm going to warn you right now, Corey, that I don't take it easy on people's pets. So
I'm sure you don't. All right, that's fine. She looks at Relix and says, "You go fly away for a minute, Relix. We'll take care of this, and I'll call you back."
it does so if you tell it to fly away. It honestly is like a cat kind of in the defensive mode as it sees us go down. It's on its hind legs and its hair is standing up. It does look like it's ready to fight for you. But you look at this large chimera and question whether you should send in your small winged cat to go against it. It's up to you. It will fly away if you tell it to do so.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't trying to get it to attack it. I was just going to use the help action and
Yep.
so on and so forth. So, but
You can do so if you want.
yeah, I mean, it's fine. I tell it. Okay, this is what's gonna happen. I tell Relix to fly away. He's not absolutely subservient to me yet,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a bit defiant to me. And then this is what's gonna happen. We said as an instant action, I can take a drink.
Okay.
I open up that bottle of wine and I take the smallest drink that a person possibly can.
Mother of God, is this the best tasting wine you ever had in your life? It's like
Yeah.
an explosion of every flavor of berry has exploded in your mouth, only it tastes good.
Yeah. Now I roll that at the end, right? At the end of my turn. Isn't that what
Yeah.
we determined?
We'll say,
Okay. So yeah, and that's fine. Because that's how it was in Harbinger that you rolled at the end of your turn. So
Yep.
All right, so she's going to fill out her comma, and she's effective when she's in close, so she's gonna run in.
All right. You're able to do so now for sure.
What's that?
You can do so. Go ahead.
Yeah. So she runs in. I'm gonna hit her I'm gonna hit the Chimera with a main attack. 16.
16 hits.
For 7 damage.
Okay.
I burn a key point.
Hmm.
All right, let me make sure I do all this right. Give me just 1 second.
No.
Okay. So I will have because I'm using for flurry of blows. I will have an additional 10 feet of movement, so I can move 50 feet.
Yep.
I can disengage after these 2 attacks that I'm going to have here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Do you disengage for free, or is it a bonus action or something?
That's part of that
Okay.
drunken.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Go ahead and do so then. Do your bonus attack and your secondary attack.
Yeah.
Roll them both, and then just roll the damage accordingly. So that's a hit. Roll your other hit.
Yeah, let's hit, and then
Also a hit. Now roll both damages.
1.
And are you dropping it on it? Yes, you are. So it's applying the damage already. Cool. So yeah, you land 3 very clean strikes with your commas.
Yeah.
Is there any head that you're targeting in particular?
I am definitely targeting that dragon head that has been blowing fire at us.
All right, absolutely. It's starting to look pretty mangled between lightning bolts and comma strikes, and then you dart back out, which then, as you kind of dart round, you come right around the corner, and Octavios sees you kind of coming in, and now it's your turn, Octavios.
All right. So Octavios will pull out his mighty warhammer. I believe that's what I carry. It's been a while since I've had to pull it out. Yep.
Yeah.
And Octavius looks like a funny sight when he runs in his armor. He's very tall, very muscular, but still very awkward and not really graceful on his feet. So from around the corner comes this running Octavius with his hammer held high above his head. And he tries to run up the side of the Chimera, basically using its hind leg as a stepping stool, so that when he jumps into the air, he can basically land on the back of the creature.
Oh, damn.
Swinging his mighty warhammer high, he will belt the head of the goat with the warhammer. You want to roll for jumping up the Chimera?
Yeah, it's going to basically be a grapple, so you have to use athletics, and it's going to roll whatever is better against you, which is still its strength. So you rolled a 6. It rolled actually pretty low, but still an 11 higher. So it doesn't let you on at all. It kind of kicks and rears away. It's moving, and it's a big creature, so you're not able to get on, but you can still attack.
All right, so basically as I jump up and I put my foot on its hind leg, it shifts its hind leg and kind of takes my feet out from underneath me. But my warhammer is still being swung well in the air. And hopefully it'll connect with the head of the goat.
Mm-hmm. Go, Ted.
14?
It does so just barely. 14 is your target.
All right, I'll roll damage on that puppy. Bam. And then, as a bonus action, at the same time as a bonus action, as the Chimera is distracted from seeing my hammer coming towards the goat head, I'll cast my spiritual weapon as a bonus action, and I will use the spiritual weapon to attack the dragon head.
All right, go ahead.
Bam, motherfucker.
Hit.
Good work, brother.
And were you dropping the damage dice? Yeah, you were. Okay. Nice. So this creature has now entered basically a bloodied state. So you've at least replenished half of its hit points from now. So go ahead and describe what it looks like as you're doing this, Octavius.
All right, basically, as Octavius is almost horizontal in the air as his feet have been taken out from underneath him, his warhammer connects with the side of the goat head, and all you basically see is Octavius, after the hammer connects, is twist his left wrist away from the warhammer and pick up his index and middle finger, and this gleaming, beautiful astral sword just kind of appears out of nowhere and does a pirate flip, like a pirate trying to show off how good he is with this sword.
Yep.
Kind of does a flip and then starts attacking the dragon head and kind of slices it down the left cheek as the head's looking to the right for the goat.
Very cool. All right, you do so, and you actually cut open the cheek of the creature. Livy, you're now up, and you can tell that this chimera is getting the beat down, we'll say. You still hear Zephyros above you, just like absolutely like, oh no, you're bleeding. Oh God, we need a doctor.
She just kind of shakes her head, but no, she hears that, but she is also rather impressed with the maneuver Octavius just did, and so she's like, hold on, Octavius. And she will move in with her rapier in hand now that this creature is on her level, even though she's burnt and hurting, but she's not going to abandon her party member, and she's going to hopefully slash or pierce this creature well. All right, here we go. Rapier. Grab that, Mary, and drop, and let's see what happens.
Oh, and that one.
Well, what happened is she was so amazed by what Octavius did that she was not paying attention at all. She tried to go in, and she ends up sneezing. And so
you got inspiration if you want to use it.
Oh yeah, duh, Murray. I'm totally going to use it because this thing's totally going to get the beat down because clearly I won't roll horribly twice in a row.
Hey, you hit now, so you sneezed, which then lets you see a super weak point of this creature.
And excellent. Yeah, totally. That was planned all along. And it was so fabulous after she gracefully stabs this creature in the weak point, armpit area. So it's going to be extra pissed, but she will just kind of step back for a moment and with her crossbow, bonus action, send another bolt at it.
So, go ahead.
Oh, hang on. Bonus action means it doesn't get the proficiency, right?
No, still proficiency, just doesn't get the added damage onto it. So your modifier damage, you missed it.
All right. I don't. Yeah. All
right.
Oh, she had hoped. She could hear Mushu off in the distance. He's right there in front of you.
Perfect. So to basically reaffirm what's happening, Livy has charged in with her rapier. Octavios is smashing on it with its warhammer and spiritual sword. And Sunny has charged in with her commas, slashed into the creature, and then retreated, right?
Yes.
Warren is standing away, basically firing off lightning bolts from the distance. The creature's turn comes up, and it goes to recharge, draw in a breath, and basically turn that air into fire. But as it does so, the slash that Octavios has cut along its cheek, it's not able to inhale the air correctly, and basically it has no chance of actually doing a fire breath right now, so I'm not even going to roll it. But it's still in a state now, and it's heavily underestimated how easy of prey you guys are. But nonetheless, it's surrounded now, so it's going to look at Livy, and it's going to try to bite with its dragon mouth. It's going to do so at disadvantage, though, because the dragon mouth is all messed up. And that didn't work, so I'm just going to roll it again because for some reason... Oh, that's why it didn't work. Let's just roll it and take the other one. So it definitely fails with a 5, but it has more attacks. The horn comes in at Octavios, and it's going to try to horn bash you from the goat side. 13 also misses, and then finally with its claws, it's going to try to rake across Livy. Roll save. Shield. Okay, I'll roll normally then. It rolled a 14, so I think you dodge it.
Yeah. She doesn't shield anyways. It's like, yeah, you don't hit.
At that point, it's
Shield
going to
is
realize
reactive, you don't
that
have
it,
to use that. You still have that spell slot use.
yeah. It realizes that it grossly underestimated you guys, and it is not going to have a free dinner tonight. It's going to take its movement to push its wings against the parapet and fly away, which gives the two of you an opportunity attack. Octavius and Livy.
Octavius.
Opportunity attacks can only be weapon attacks, right?
Yes. Both of you hit. Oh, geez. You guys actually might kill it.
Drop it.
Octavius.
Oh!
Drop it like it's hot.
You did not kill it, but it looks very bad as a big splatter of blood comes out from both sides as you're stabbing into it. It flaps its wings and takes off into the air, using its full fly movement to get away from you. Warren, you're now up. I'm going to say, what would we say? You're about 40 feet away, and then it moves. So you can basically move your movement and still see it, I'll say.
Yep.
All right.
If you want to, but it definitely looks like it's retreating.
You guys can feel the air kind of pick up around this building. The hair on your arm stands up a little bit. Lightning still crackles across Warren, across the floor a little bit. I'm going to rush forward as my 30 feet or whatever it is I can move towards this thing. You can see that he still levitates off the ground a few inches, and he just brings his hand together in front of him like this huge clap. And I'll use my last point of inspiration to use it up and do... where is he? Oh, that's going to be advantage though. So,
roll again. I hit actually, but you might get a 20.
Oh,
yeah, you hit.
Okay, and then we'll use my. I'm going to cast this as a second level spell just because.
Oh, you're going to wreck it. Oh, describe what it looks like as this drains the life from this creature. I'll let you flavor it all. It's like 40 feet in the air.
So is it up above us, kind of?
Yeah, it's up about flying away.
Yeah, so you guys see Warren kind of rush forward. He just brings his hands around in front of him, just this huge clap. All of you can feel this pressure wave just wash across your bodies, thrown back a few feet as he looks up at this thing. Up above, if you happen to look up in time, you just see this chimera explode into pieces. There's this thunderous wave washes over it, and all the gore just kind of rains down around us. A big smile on Warren's face as he kind of wipes the blood off his cheek and turns, walking past Sweeney. That's how you do it, kitty.
Absolutely.
Anyways, but so I imagine that the dragon head lands back on the parapet.
Okay.
And she walks over to the dragon head, and it's mangled, right?
Yeah.
But is there dragon teeth in there?
There would be. They're a little bit charred, but I'm sure you could rip one out if you wanted to.
Yeah, she would like to try to take out as many as she can.
All right, give me a... What would that be? Survival?
Yeah, that's usually what people use.
Go ahead.
Not really a thing, but we'll try it.
Well,
Oh,
tell that to the natural 20.
yeah,
As you're able to pull out, roll a d8 plus 2. 17th.
7. Alright. She they're the what? The size of her hand?
Yeah, roughly. This isn't like a full-fledged dragon head, but yeah, they're definitely like the size of her hand.
Alright. She has a plan for them. She knows that they're very strong, and she's what I'd like to use them for is I'd like to use them as darts.
Okay.
So I'm gonna add 7 darts to my total.
Sure.
I'm gonna make
Go
them
ahead.
special. If you want to do anything special with them, that's cool. But
Yeah, I'll think about
that's
that.
what she wants to use them for.
Cool.
She would look
With
back at
that-
the group and,
Go ahead.
oh, that was unexpected. She takes one more swig of the wine. Again, a very small swig, and corks the bottle. And then looks at Warren and says, Can you hold on to this for me? Because I don't trust myself one.
Very well.
Besties. But anyways, as that's happening, you hear from above, Zephyros let out a blood-curdling yell as he yells, "Oh, my poor Veltrax, no!" And then he starts to levitate down with Veltrax in his arms, and it looks like the creature is struggling, blood pouring from its neck. But that is where we will end the session for tonight.
Spare the dying!
Octavius,
Okay.
can you help that?
We'll let Octavius have this moment, actually. Octavius, what do you do?
I would like to spare the dying and try to save Bellatrix.
All right. You are able to do so. And since he's actually not dead, more just like in a critical state. Actually, if you just like cast a heal on him, that'll fix him because he's not unconscious.
I will cast Cure Wounds on the fucker.
Oh,
And you
shit.
do so. And so yeah, you basically Zephyros comes down in a panic and is just like panicked that that Veltrax isn't gonna make it. And you look, and the wound is like pretty bad, but you know as a cleric that it is nowhere near life threatening. So you just kind of go up to it and chant to Ilmater, and as you do so, you put your hand over the wound, and this energy kind of emanates from your arm and basically seals up the wound for most of it. And you're able to reassure Zephyros that Veltrax is going to be all right.
Sweet.
And he looks at you with the utmost of appreciation, like you just saved his son or something. And that is where we'll end the session then. All right. Thanks for playing, guys. Until next time.
All right.
See you.